Well, g'day, curd nerds. G'day, curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day, curd nerds, and welcome to Ask the Cheeseman, episode 83. You're probably wondering why I'm wearing the hat. Well, it's because it's Cheesemas. So Merry Cheesemas to all of you. So great to see so many people on the chat. It's been fantastic. I've been having a bit of a pre-show chitty chat, which is great fun always. But there's lots of questions already. But before we jump into the questions, we're just have a shout out to our new patrons this week. And a big g'day to Juan. Thank you, Juan, for your patronage. If you want to be a patron of the show, then you can pop over to the links down in the description below. Cheeses for this week, we're going to be doing a blue Gouda taste test. That's coming up on my normal Friday release schedule. And I'm in pre-production for an episode I've been planning to do for a while, which is top 10 tips for beginners. So that is gonna, I'm going to try and make that over the next few days and release it around Christmas time. Now we are going on a break. So we're having a slight break from the show and everything else that goes on. So we're going on a break. This is Kim and I, of course. And we won't be shipping any orders or anything like that as well from our shop. So from the 23rd, which is the Sunday, 23rd of December, to Sunday, the 6th of January. So we're having a mini staycation. So that will be absolutely fantastic. Well, I'm looking forward to it anyway. So, yeah. So a break from everything. And before we go any further, just in case anybody wanted to donate during the show, then don't forget there's the Super Chat facility somewhere. I don't even know if it's there. Is it there anymore? Where'd it go? Yeah, Super Chat. So it's their little dollar sign down the bottom. It says, show your support for Gavin Weber. That's me. Okay, so let's answer some questions. Somebody says the focus is way off. Doesn't look quite, it looks pretty good to me. So, and the lens is clean and the monitoring I'm doing looks fine to me. Maybe it's just the resolution and how it's downscaling. Anyway, so we do have some questions. First one I'll pick was, goodness me. Margaret says, hi there, new to your chat. You've probably already covered it, so feel free to educate me on protocol. I've made a cheddar and covered it with a slurry, but it moulded. How do you even cut, cheese without mould and mould smell getting into the cheese? Is it still any good? Yes. Well, when you cover it with the cloth, if you're going to do a cloth banded cheddar and you use the butter or lard, then yeah, you do get a little bit of mould growing on the outside. That's fine. It doesn't get into the cheese itself. That's what protects the outside surface. So, yeah, so it's cool. So you should be all right there, Margaret. Just keep on aging it. Bagbeard says, have you ever made any beer cheese, like a brew curd cheddar? That's certainly on my list to do in early next year. I've actually found some old home brew, so that should be pretty good. It's a dark ale, and I'm hoping to use that for a brew curd cheddar to wash the curds and see if it adds any flavour to it. Jordan says, can you make most of the cheeses you make with pasteurised and homogenised milk? Trouble finding anything? Yes, you can. So with store-bought milk, the only thing you really have to add, and if it doesn't state in any cheese recipes or cheese books that you get, is a little bit of calcium chloride equal to the amount of rennet that you're using. What that does, that reverses the heat treatment that has occurred during pasteurization. And it adds back soluble calcium so that the so that the chymosin and the rennet can form a bond with the calcium particles and make a mesh, and that mesh becomes the curd. So, yeah, just a little bit of calcium chloride, and Bob's your uncle, fixes everything. Don't use too much because it is a bittering agent as well, so you don't want that. Don't tip it in, you know. Use the 30% liquid solution. Most cheese making shops sell it that way. Okay, Bart says closest thing to whole milk we have in Canada is 3%, maybe 3.25. Is that enough fat content, or would you recommend adding some cream? Look, you could add a little bit of cream, but just make sure that the cream's not ultra pasteurized, and neither is the milk. But yeah, look, 3.25. Some of the milks that I use, pasteurised, homogenised here in Australia now, are now 3.4. So they still make a fairly good cheese. The yield is down a little bit, but the fat content's still okay. So you can get away with it. Lots of people in Canada making good cheese from that sort of standardised milk. Okay, where are we up to? Gavin, do you have a cheese tray that you're putting together for New Year festivities? Stephanie, that's a good question. I have been planning to do a cheese board and kind of what goes with what. So, as you may have noticed on the video, I recently released around how much cheese is in my cheese fridge. That wouldn't be too hard to accomplish. Especially with some of the, we've got a couple of commercial cheeses there as well that I didn't have vacuum packed. So, yeah, I'm going to be doing a video on a cheese board or a cheese tray and what goes with it, and what wines, beers, or ciders kind of go with it as well. It may take a little while to put together, but I will release something like that in the new year. Geordie, good day to you and Joy. And John says, do you think I could make a bunch of your recipes with lactose-free milk? Thanks very much, John from Vicksburg. John, really the only ones you can make are very either fresh cheeses or quick aging cheeses, so things like Caerphilly. That's why I managed to get away with it. What happens is the starter cultures convert the broken down lactose, which is galactose and glucose, into alcohols, and it actually starts to ferment not as it's supposed to. So instead of creating lactic acid, it creates a little bit of lactic acid, but it also creates alcohol, and your cheese smells very winey, if that makes sense. So it smells a bit like wine, or sometimes vinegar as well. So you can't long age lactose-free milk cheeses, if that makes sense. So hopefully that helps. Craig says, hi Gavin, season's greetings. My question is, do you cryovac your Stilton, and if so, when, and how long do you mature for? Craig, I don't actually vacuum pack Stilton. What I do though is I wrap it in, after it's matured, I basically wrap it in wax paper or grease-proof paper, whatever thick, paper you can get like that, and then put it in an airtight container if I'm going to use if that's for storage. For maturing, it's just in it's a maturation box. So that's all you need to do for that to keep the blue mold growing. Okay, so that's all the pre-show questions. Let's get into the questions since I started the show. Let's have a look. Where is it? Dominique says, what's happened if I leave rennet in goat milk too long? I left it for 24 hours and the curd comes above the whey and was pretty strong. No, not well. You'll have a very firm curd set, and what may happen, the cheese may bitter because it may find it difficult for the whey to be released. You'll need to cut and stir it as per the recipe, but maybe a little bit longer even to release a little bit more whey. But yeah, time will tell. Age it as normally and see what happens. Um, let's have a look. Geordie says, "G'day, Geordie. What would cause my cheese wheel to collapse slightly? They seem to be losing weight." The only thing I can think of is weight loss or evaporation. They're the main things. Without any other information, very hard to diagnose, mate. Sorry. Mario says, "Please speak a little more slowly. I'm not English speaking. Then I'll understand more." Sorry, Mario. This is kind of how I speak. I can't really slow down that much. What's that? Negro Parquepero says, "Hi, Gavin. If using raw milk, do you use the same amount of rennet and or cultures as if using pasteurised milk?" Raw milk's a different kettle of fish because before the advent of factory-made starter cultures, then raw milk is all they had, and the environment dictated which bacteria got into your milk and which lactic bacteria you would have. So it's not the same. So you actually use a little bit less rennet because the curd hasn't been disturbed. The milk structure hasn't been disturbed, so that'll be fine. And the starter culture, it's up to you if you want to use starter culture. You'll need to sour the milk for 12 hours after you finished milking the cow or got the milk. And that's simply by leaving it at room temperature and the milk sours a bit. Then you add the rennet and away you go, start making the cheese as you would. So the milk would naturally have starter cultures. But then there's another way you can use kefir grains to inoculate your milk with some more starter culture. However, you can use packet starter cultures, and at least that way you'll have a consistent output, and the cheeses will be the same. Okay, where are we up to? Everybody says the focus looks fine. Dark Valor Wolf says, "Are there cheeses I can make without ability to proper temperature control?" Yes, indeed. So you always need some sort of temperature control. You can't have the temperature fluctuate rapidly. If you can find a dark cupboard somewhere in your house and it stays roughly the same temperature, then you could probably make Leerdama or Marsden, the one that I made the other day. You would have seen a taste test for it a couple of videos back. And that, for the initial first 2 weeks, was just in the kitchen fridge at 4 degrees Celsius. And then it was sitting on my shelf here in my office. Shelf's up there somewhere. And sitting on my shelf in the office at 18 degrees Celsius for 4 weeks for the eye development to happen. So that's one cheese you don't need without a cheese fridge. And there's actually heaps. Kim may have already put up the link. No, she hasn't. There's actually a link to beginner's cheeses you can make without a cheese fridge. There's a video on that. So go and check that out. And Aga already said that. Pax says scrape it off. Scrape what off? Not sure what you're on about there, but that's okay. Kevin says, "Do you have a recipe for Dubliner cheese? It seems to be a mix between Parmesan cheddar and mozzarella." I'll have to have a look. I'll look for a recipe, Kevin. See what we can find. Steve says, "Nice hack. G'day, mate. Lovely to see you." Kevin says, "Made halloumi on the weekend and it turned out well, except when folding it broke and did not fold properly." That's okay. Doesn't need to fold. As long, because most of the ones you find in the shops these days are just slabs of curd, and they've been made in the halloumi method. You usually find that halloumi made with raw milk is the only one that kind of bends. So that might be the reason there, Kevin. But I bet it tasted fantastic anyway. Heppy says, "Hi, Gavin. Heppy from Denmark. In Denmark, it's a bit difficult to get salt without iodine. What can happen if you use iodized salt? All the best from the other side of the globe. Well, what happens when you have iodine in the salt is that it actually kills off any of the lactic bacteria that are still present within your cheese when you salt your cheese. You know, iodine's the stuff that you put on cuts and stuff like that, that purple crap that you put on your skin, and it stops any infections. So same thing with iodine in salt. It tends to kill off any bacteria. So it can change the flavour of the final cheese. So the lactic bacteria converting the lactose into lactic acid can be reduced, so it can muck up your cheese. But I did see once, I had a fan, and he was from Sweden, I think, and he did a test because he could only get iodized salt as well. And he did a test, made some camembert, and said it tasted exactly the same as camembert he's bought in the shop. So it didn't have any issues with iodized salt. So you can give it a go. I would say fresher cheeses, no problems at all. Longer aged cheeses is probably where you will have an issue. Chris B, Merry Christmas to you and Kim. I am making Leyden cheese. When removing the first part of the whey and adding 60-degree water, any idea what target temperature would be for the curds? Not off the top of my head. Don't have the recipe in front of me. Sorry, Chris. Leyden, just think, is Leyden in my book? Probably not. Shoot me an email, Chris, and I'll do some research and have a look for you. Pax says buttermilk. Yes, that makes starter culture. Buttermilk contains mesophilic starter cultures. Only cultured buttermilk, though, don't. Mark says, how can I press cheese without a cheese press? Currently don't have any funds to buy one. You can make one, pretty good one, out of... you're going to have to use your imagination. There's actually a video, Mark, on many homemade cheese presses that fellow cheesemakers have made, and if Kim can dig up that video and pop it up there, that would be absolutely fantastic. So yeah, and you could just use normal weights to press your cheese. Kevin says made raclette Monday. So far so good. Fantastic. We're actually having a raclette party for Christmas Eve. All the families coming around, so all the kids, and we're going to have a little raclette party, so that should be nice. Raclette potatoes, because I found that half a raclette in the fridge the other day, so I didn't even know it was there, so that should be nice and good. Crazy Game says, what's the best cheese for port? As in drinking with port, a really sharp vintage cheddar goes really well with port. Pax says, or butter melted and the whole milk for pouring. I'm not sure what you're talking about there, but that's okay. Geordie, looking forward to cracking open my raw milk farmhouse cheddar blue. I use no starter culture, and other than blue mould, I can't wait to see what it tastes. It's 5 months. Well, best of luck, Geordie. Hope it does taste pretty good. Bagbeard says, I have a local dairy with Jersey cows. Milk is 5.7 butterfat. It's been working amazingly well with your recipes, high yield. Yeah, it would at that amount of fat. It's fantastic when you can get milk like that. It's really good. Native Gun, Merry Christmas to you. Where am I? I just lost my spot. There we go. Kevin says, can you make whey ricotta if the whey has B linens or P Roquefort? Yeah, definitely. Those molds will only start to grow after 7 days. So you've got 7 days to eat your whey ricotta. And in fact, because with whey ricotta, you've got to heat the milk up to about 92 degrees Celsius. So it's going to kill off those bacteria anyway. So they won't be prominent in your ricotta. Kevin says, my rennet expired in November, so should I use a bit more rennet or leave it to set a bit longer? Probably both. I actually have used rennet up to 6 months past its use by date. I tend to use a little bit more, and it still works. You can test your rennet by getting 1/4 of a cup or 1/2 a cup of milk, adding a few drops of rennet into it. The milk's got to be a little bit warm. Wait 15, 20 minutes and see if it sets. Then you'll know your rennet's still okay. But if you've been making cheese with it lately, Kevin, you shouldn't have too many issues. Liam says, my girlfriend and I love your channel, often call each other curd nerds when we buy a great cheese. That is lovely. Very good. Yeah, I don't often walk around the shops calling myself a curd nerd, but I wear T-shirts with it on, so that's okay. Spartan, good to see you. Hi, Gavin. Just made my first cheese. It was ricotta, and it was really good. Thank you for the recipe. It's a great place to start. Ricotta's fairly foolproof. I'm not saying you're a fool, Spartan, but it's easy enough that you usually have success first time round. Then that gives you a bit of confidence to move on to the next cheese, and then the next cheese, and the next cheese, and got snowballs after that. Kevin says he just received his Curd Nerd T-shirt. It's great. Thank you very much, Kevin. Yeah, for anybody who wants to buy any merch, there should be merch links now to most countries down below the video. You should see the merch dashboard. I think I've got about 7 or 8 designs now, which are there. Some of them are actually pictures from my first book, Keep Calm and Make Cheese, that Kim actually drew. So she drew, there's a little Miss Muffet, there's a cheese mouse. I think that's it. So there's 2 illustrations on T-shirts as well. They're very cool. Yes, it says, sorry in advance for my English. Is it possible to cure mozzarella cheese? Greetings from Colombia. Yes, it is. So when you do cure mozzarella or mature mozzarella, it actually doesn't become mozzarella anymore because mozzarella's a fresh cheese. What it tends to become is things like a little bit like provolone or caciocavallo or cashcaval. It depends on how you want to say it. So those sort of long age or provolone, even maybe scamorza. So those longer aged pasta filata cheeses is what it will become. It won't be mozzarella anymore. But it will taste even better. So the curing process actually helps the proteins break down and you get a richness of flavour. Manel says, in my country, all processed milk is homogenised and pasteurised. Is it good to make your cheese with? Yeah, I answered that one before, but yes, it's okay. As long as the fat content's okay, so above 3, and as long as the milk is not ultra-pasteurised. So just make sure that you avoid ultra-pasteurised milk. It will not set a curd. As same as UHT heated milk. It's actually not milk, it's actually coloured water, because there is no benefit to UHT milk. Everything in it is dead. Jim. It's dead, Jim. Philomax says, I want to help my friend get into cheese making. Is there a starter kit I can buy them for Christmas? Yeah, if you pop over to littlegreenworkshops.com.au, there's actually a fresh cheese kit made by Mad Millie. Great little starter kit. Or there's even the fresh Italian kit, which you can make mozzarella and ricotta and a couple of other cheeses as well. But they're really good to start off with. So I hope that helps. Nuno says, hi, Gavin. Do you have a recipe for Neufchâtel? Neufchâtel cheese. It's like brie. It's a brie-like cheese, I've heard. It has some particular starter cultures. I do actually have a recipe for that. And usually it's made in a heart-shaped mould, which I may have to buy. I want to be authentic, you know. So, yeah, it's on the list. It's on the list. Just write it down. So I'll give that a go. Aga says, sea salt crystals tend not to be iodized. The ones that come as pyramid-like crystals, they've been recrystallized, which purifies them to pretty much 100% salt. No, good suggestion, Aga. Dominique says, for a big quantity production of camembert, like 20 litres, what is the best way to rehydrate the culture? I heard that you can use UHT milk the day before, adding a small amount of culture, and then use it. Not really, because most cultures these days are direct vat inoculated. So you just sprinkle the culture over the top of the milk. You don't need to rehydrate them the day before because they'll start off, eat all the lactose in the UHT milk, and then they'll die. So you won't have too many cultures left. So no, just use DVI. It works fine. You just you add more to it, and you won't have any troubles. So, the closest I've come to 20 litres of milk is I think I can fit 14 and a half in my really big pot. So that's the biggest size cheese I can make. But yeah, DVI or direct vat inoculated cultures, which are the freeze-dried ones that I use, and you've seen on the channel many times before, it works perfectly well. Bagbeard says, what is the best temperature to store starter culture? In the freezer is the best place to store your starter culture because it extends the life of it. Make sure that it's in an airtight container or bag, and then it's not just let open to the four winds because it tends to then attract moisture. Once moisture gets into your freeze-dried starter cultures, they start to activate and then they eventually die. So you won't be able to use them. If you've got any gluggy culture, just throw it away. It won't work. It's got to be fine, powdered, and it'll work fine. Okay. Auto Monkey, no question. Just wanted to say thanks for the info. Never really understood cheese making. No problems, Auto Monkey. Yeah. A few suggestions that Kim's put there. And Geordie says, try making Tilsit. You don't need a cheese press. It's amazing cheese. It is indeed. Try Bel Paese. You don't need a cheese press for that one either. And that is a very, very nice cheese and quite quick to mature. Donna says, Stilton Blue, matured 2 weeks, wonderfully crumbles. Now started Munster, American style, and it's about week 2 in the cave and brining to get a rind, but plagued with blue mould. How do you tell good, bad mould suggestions? Right. So blue mould means it's probably not as moist as it should be. And what you can do is add some Brevibacterium linens to the brine wash that you're using, the simple brine solution, and that'll kill off any of the blue mold and promote the red mold, which is the Brevibacterium linens. So add that to your wash and wash it for about a week like that. So you'll have to make a fresh batch every day. It doesn't take much. And you'll soon find the orange or red smear start to come back onto your cheese, and it'll kill off the blue. So the blue tries to fight for control of the cheese. So hopefully that works. But thanks for your question, Donna. Very good. Donovan says, Lord of the Cheese. Well, I was going to say that I'm Father Cheesemas today, not Father Christmas. So Father Cheesemas coming to you on the YouTubes. Patricia says, I've been enjoying watching your old videos. The green peppercorn farmhouse, for example. They're less well produced than your newer ones. Would you consider remaking any of your earlier videos? Yeah, I actually have considered making a few. And that's why you've seen new versions of... Ooh, what's a new version one I did? Parmesan. I did a new version of that because that was actually the first or second video I ever did. You've seen kefili a few times in various guises because that's one of the first ones I ever did as well. But yeah, some of the really old ones that were quite ordinary. I've done feta. That was the second one I ever made, or third. And I've redone that one as well many times using different types of milks. So yes, I have considered remaking some of them, and I have. But yeah, I get around to it because I do like the old cheeses. I haven't made them for a long, long time, so it'll be good to just reuse the same recipe and check out the results. Now I'm a little bit smarter and have a little bit more wisdom under my belt, so that would be cool. Manel says, if I heat milk higher, 120 Fahrenheit, than recipes, can I cool a milk at 88 Fahrenheit when I complete the recipes? Don't understand, but let me convert those temperatures. Convert 120 Fahrenheit to Celsius.
Okay, I found this on the web for convert.
You're a clown, Siri.
I don't really like these arbitrary
Okay. No, you've got to stick to the recipe. If you heat it higher, then you've got a good chance of killing off the mesophilic starter culture, if that's what you get using. Negro Parky Pero says, have you ever made manchego cheese? I haven't seen a video. Kim's already put it there. Well done, Kim. Love a good manchego. Andrew says, why do you think your Saganaki melted? Well, good question. So if you're talking about the keflatiri, I don't think I made it properly, or I didn't do something right. I don't quite know. I know I saved it and made a nice grilled cheese sandwich, but I think what I'll make next is Graviera, which is another form of Saganaki cheese, or cheese you can make Saganaki with. And it's a lot better process, a lot less chance of actually melting, because I think it's a pasta filata cheese that you cook to a high temperature. So very similar to halloumi. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't know the reason. That's why I couldn't replicate it. Master Jeeves, or Jessvs, enjoy your videos. Makes me want to make some cheese for myself and my family. Really awesome. That's the general idea. That's why they're there. So people like you and me can make cheese, and it'll be a record forever and ever. It's just fantastic. Chris B says, what's the cool cut-off date for orders? Yep. Thanks, Kim, for answering that. Lovely. Some funny keyboard stroke says, how much cheese do I eat? Oh, not much, because you saw how much I store. Look, we probably have cheese maybe once or twice a week, if that. So that's about it. John says, what do you think of Kerryhold cheeses? I think there's another brand of Irish cheeses. I've never tried them because I don't think they sell one variety here in Australia, but I haven't seen it. Kevin says, have your ebook, Keep Calm and Make Cheese. Do you have a more advanced book, or are you writing one? Yes, I am writing one. I haven't touched it for a month. It will have about 50 or so recipes based on videos from the channel. And obviously in the ebook, it'll have links to the videos so people can, look at the recipe and look at the video and see the technique on how to do it. Very same as the first book. It won't have all of that 5 chapters of stuff up the front. It'll be very basic and just to have a lot of recipes because it's volume 2, basically. So, yeah, it's we're getting there. So we can, during the break, I'll be writing some more, and hopefully I'll have a weekend where I just sit down, knuckle down, get it done, get it proofread by somebody, and then and get it out to you guys and girls. So that would be absolutely fantastic. That's my dream come true. I actually remember starting at the start of 2018, and I said that I was going to have the book finished by March. So that didn't happen, did it? So I know if I knuckle down hard enough, I'll get it done. But yeah, it happens. Abdarim says, hello, I'm trying to be a cheesemaker, but I've never tried before. Can you give me some advices to start? Yeah, watch for a video that I'm producing in the next week, so it'll be out soon. It's going to be called Top 10 Tips for Beginners, so there will be some advice there. I won't repeat it here. John says, how can I make really protein-rich milk? Can I sell it to you? Oh, I can make really protein-rich. Where do you live, John? I can test anything. I'm always good for a test. And Kim's talking to Chris, which is fantastic. Thank you, Chris, for being one of our regular customers on the store. It's pretty cool. Heaven oh, I think that's how you say it. Why are your videos so addictive? I can't stop watching. Maybe it's because I've got a little bit of me in every video. So it's personality and voice, and I don't know. It's a mixture of good cheese making, good video, good lighting, all that. I can't answer the question. I think it's rhetorical, but that's why. And I've got Christmas bells on. John says Neufchâtel is a variety of cream cheese here. I know in France it's made in a heart shape, little heart. They use a heart-shaped mould. And basically it's a curd that's then repacked. They've crumbled it and they sprinkle Penicillium candidum through it as well. It's a fresh cheese. I think it blooms within 10 to 12 days, and then you eat it then. So it doesn't really go runny in the middle. So it's a soft cream cheese with a bloomy white rind. Okay. Kim's just helping Chris there, I think. GG Snipaper says, hi, Santa Gavin. How can I tell for certain that my cheese is ready for waxing? Okay, so there's a lot of confusion about air drying and when it's touch dry. So your cheese obviously can't be seeping away and it can't be wet. So after about 2 or 3 days, sometimes up to 5 days, I've noticed sometimes, you'll find that your cheese starts to dry off. It goes a different colour yellow on the outside, just slightly. And you'll also notice that it may be a little bit tacky. That's the time to wax it. Or it could be completely dry rind, which is also fine. Then you wax it. Trouble is, if you've got moisture on the rind of your cheese and you wax it, not only does the wax colour bleed into your cheese, but it actually makes the rind go a little bit softer than it should. The rind should be firm. So, yeah, touch dry. It should feel like a clammy handshake is what I've been told. As long as it's not wet and it's not dripping away. So, hopefully that answers your question. Patricia says, what are those crystals that form in longer aged cheeses like cheddar? They're actually called calcium lactate. And calcium lactate, and there's another one, trisol, I think there's another crystal. There's 2 types. But calcium lactate are the main ones, and they form just because of the aging process, and they are actually highly sought after in longer aged cheeses. And that kind of determines some of the flavour characteristics and the vintage of the cheddars for the cheddar type cheese. I've also found that in long aged Goudas. I've also found that in Romano that I've made myself, Vacino Romano, which is cow's milk Romano. I've also found that in one of the Parmesans I made, it just happened by accident. So the really long-aged cheeses, you'll find calcium lactate crystals, which are lovely. They had a nice little bit of texture, a bit of a crunch. They're quite sweet, so they're lovely. Adabrim says, which ferment you put in Gruyere? I'm pretty sure that you put in a thermophilic starter culture. So I use MOT92 by Sacco. You can use Thermo B, which is another form, but any thermophilic starter culture, you should be right, except yogurt. Don't use yogurt as a thermophilic starter culture for Gruyere. Bagbeard says, thanks for your answers and inspiration to help me get into this hobby. I also make salami and sourdough. Cheese is the next step. That's fantastic. Just be sure, Bagbeard, that when you make cheese, don't make sourdough the same day because the yeast can migrate into the cheese and cause what's known as a bloom or a not coliform. It will bloat because of the yeast. It gets into the milk, so that's no good. So just keep the 2 apart in your kitchen. Okay. Rightio. So, Ola says, is there any substitute for rennet that can be used to curd the milk? Not really. When making rennet type cheeses, you need to use rennet. You can't use vinegar as a substitute or acid in the form of citric acid or lemon juice. you'll get a different type of cheese. Rennet is absolutely essential for cheese making. And you can pick it up online just about anywhere, and most countries will let you import it, especially if it's in tablet form. So seek out, even on Amazon, there is rennet. Don't worry about that. Most online cheese making stores worth their salt will actually have rennet. We have 4 types of rennet on our website. So yeah, pick one and go with it and test it. Steve says, Father Curdmus, very nice. Thank you, Steve. Donna, thank you. Thank you. You never would have thought of a brie linen wipe. It actually works. One of the cheeses that I made, I think it was Brick, had the same problem. Blue mold started growing on over it all the time. So, yep, kicked in with the Brevibacterial linens, put it into the wash, and away it goes. And it starts to turn orange, and it's lovely. John says they look very cheesy. Indeed. Siri's being bitchy today. Yes, Siri was. She didn't answer my question. GG, good game. Cy Paper says, another question. I've made a cheddar and forgot to put the salt in. What do you suggest? Throw it away, because the it'll taste terrible. It'll taste bitter. It'll taste acidic. So if you haven't got salt in your cheddar, then yeah, don't even age it. It's not worth it. Feed it to the chooks or the pigs. Yeah, unless it's very recent, then you can brine it, but that's about it. If you've started aging it already, you got no hope. If it's a couple of weeks down the road, because the lactic bacteria haven't got anything to inhibit their growth. They will just go crazy and eat all the lactose and produce so much acid the cheese will be inedible and bitter. Kevin says, I think he is asking, if he makes the milk too hot, can you still use it after it cools down? Yes. Sorry. Yeah, that does make sense now. Yeah, you can. If you heat the milk up, as long as you haven't put the starter cultures in it yet, cool it back down again. That's fine. Yeah, you can do that. As long as you don't boil it. If you boil the milk, it denatures all the proteins, kills them all off, and your cheese will be crappy anyway. Andrew says, yes, it was nice. I'll give it another try and see how it goes, the Saganaki. Excellent. Omen says, when Blue Gouda taste test? It'll be released Friday, 2 a.m. my time, which is Eastern Australian Daylight Savings Time. So GMT plus 11, or UTC plus 11, whatever you want to call it. So figure out the time for your time zone there. Usually it's the morning in the Americas. So Manel says, how can I double the cheese recipes? Same as a cake recipe. Just double everything. Except don't double your stirring time. Don't change your temperatures. Just double the ingredients. You will have to press it harder with more weight because there is more volume of curd. So Kevin says Dubliner is made with Kerrygold. Oh, made by Kerrygold. Oh, well, there you go. I think that's Hebrew. I don't know your name, and I'll just do a quick translate because I can. And it translates to Mayor Goldberg. G'day, Mayor. Hey, Gavin, I love your channel. Thank you very much. John Smith, are you in the market for a big old bucket of protein-rich milk? Depends on where you live, John. If you've got some, after Christmas will be best because, like I said, we're taking a break until the Sunday the 6th. We start work again on the 7th, and I dare say the 7th will be quite hectic because people won't stop ordering just because we're not in the office. But yeah, I'm in the market for it if you're close by. Kirana says hello from Illinois in the US. G'day, Kirana. Mayor says, how much humidity is the cheese cave supposed to be? Depends on how you want to play your cheese cave. You can have the humidity around 80% if you can maintain it. The whole cheese fridge if you want. Sometimes you'll have to go a little bit higher. But what I tend to do is use Ripening boxes with a damp cloth in the bottom of them. And that not only soaks up any whey that goes around, but it keeps the humidity up, closed box. And a ripening box is just basically a plastic Tupperware with a mat in the bottom. You can use bamboo mats or a plastic mat, pardon me, and that'll work fine, and that'll keep the humidity quite high. You don't need to keep the whole cheese fridge high. You can just keep the you will just keep the box itself with the cheese in it nice and high. John Smith gives me a heart. That's lovely. Craig says, would you have a recipe for Kefla Graviera? I think I do. So that was one of the cheeses I was going to try, which I think is the same as Graviera. Normal. Depends on what Greek. I put Gaviera. What a clown. Graviera. There we are. So I'll be making that in the new year, Craig. Rocky, where did Rocky go? Rocky says, I made Havarti 2 months ago. It's waxed. I'm starting to see what looks like bubbles under the wax. Is this CO2? Yeah, it is. During the cheese making process for Havarti, it does sometimes tend to create CO2 bubbles. Depends on the starter culture used. If you used an aromatic mesophilic like Flora danica, it tends to produce CO2. So, yeah, that works. Kevin says, a T-shirt suggestion for you. Graduate of the Curd Nerd Academy. That would be cool. I'm writing that down. Beautiful. Lovely. Thank you, Kevin. Great suggestion. What does my T-shirt say? It says, keep calm and make cheese. The name of my first book, of course. I'm the best. Thank you very much. Shane says, love the channel. You cheese addict. I am indeed. Jean-Francois says, when is your next book due out? I got the first one. Can't wait for your next one. I'm going to be working on it very soon. Again, it's kind of in limbo. There's going to be about 50-odd recipes in it, so stand by for that. All proven and tested, and they will have video links to them as well from the videos that I've already made. It's really hard to stop. Let me just explain a little bit. Because I make so many different cheeses, it's very hard to put a line in the sand and say, right, stop putting recipes in the book. Because I know some people are going to be disappointed because they're going to go, oh, but this recipe's not in the book, this recipe. But I'm just going to have to put a line in the sand. I keep adding bloody recipes to it. Put a line in the sand and just get it out there because I know people want it. So, yeah, I'll get on with it. Get it out after Christmas. Rich Man Guy says, I think it's keep calm and make cheese. It was. Well done. Where I'm up to, I've lost the place. Right. Manel says, how can I make heavy cream at home? What you can do is you get cream and, will it work? Might run straight through. I was just thinking strain it through a butter muslin, but it's really runny. So heavy cream's you can't make it because what happens is when they what's it called? When they separate the cream from the milk, you can actually dial down the separator to make the cream thicker. Other ways they do it is they put gelatin into the cream and make it thick and cream. That's what they do here in Australia anyway. And you can't use thickened cream in your cheese making recipes. So it's very hard to do. The only even if you put culture in it, it turns into culture butter, so you can't do that either. So nothing off the top of my head, Manal. They usually just make it thick in the store. Josh says, can you say, g'day, Curd Nerd, Sam Hawley, how are you? And Josh Hawley, my name. Hope that worked. Hope that was good enough. G'day. And that's actually G''day. So it's not good day. It's g'day. There you go. Spartan says, I'm getting your cheese press soon, and I'm very excited to start your course. Thank you very much, Spartan. Appreciate it. Yeah, for everybody who wants to learn how to make cheese, I've done a very comprehensive beginner's course. All you have to do is go to courses.littlegreenworkshops.com.au, and you'll see the Curd Nerd Academy, the beginner's cheese course. So far, we've had 15 people go through the course or purchase the course, and they're all doing very well as far as I know. And I'm answering questions as they come up. So great little course, lots of videos, lots of recipes, lots of fact sheets and all that sort of stuff you can print out. And there's even you even get a copy of the first book, Keep Calm and Make Cheese, for free as well as a coupon code to get a decent discount at our store if you choose to buy products from us. Okay, Jason says, who is NKY Homesteading, I remember. Hello, quick hello from Kentucky, just got home. Oh, I've got 10 minutes left. Josh, g'day from Pommy in Canada. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you. Manuel says, thanks, Gavin. Lego says, hey, Gav, who made you get into cheese making? I did. It was my choice. And I don't regret it for one little bit. It's a passion. I love it. I really do love making cheese, as you can probably tell on most of the videos. It's great fun. Akam Dia System says, just wanted to say I discovered your channel and cheese making this year. You're probably my favourite new channel of 2018. Thanks for making great videos. No problems at all. Appreciate the comment. Love your work. Okay, Omen says, is the biological process a major part of cheese development, even in non-mould cheeses? Yes, it is. Definitely is. The different types of starter cultures that you use determines the flavour of your cheese. So even with non-mould ripened cheeses. Rocky says, yes, Flora Danica was used. Followed your recipe, thanks. Okay, no drama. I think that was for your Havarti. Yep, so that was why you get little bubbles, because it produces CO2. Josh, yep, have to agree. Oh, awesome channel. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Moon Canuck, I think it's there. So, any chance you'll be making a Cambenzola style cheese? Any thoughts on the special techniques that might be involved? I've actually seen some recipes. And Cambenzola, for anybody who's not in the know, is basically a Camembert and Gorgonzola together. So it's a blue cheese that has veins through it, and it has a white bloom on it as well. So there is a way to make it as a blue cheese, and then you spray diluted Penicillium candidum with pure water and mist it over the top of the cheese, and that creates the bloom after the blue has got into it. So that works. Josh said, appreciate it. Thank you. Reggie says, can you overpress a cheddar? You can. When you initially press the cheese, a lot of people press it too hard, and you see a lot of fat coming out of it, or creamy whey. Ease off a little bit. Initially, when you do the first initial pressings, they're only really light, and you build up to a heavier pressing. That's certainly the way I've done it before, and you lose very little fat. If you overpress the cheese initially, you lose a lot of fat and a lot of flavour, because the fats break down. The process is called lipolysis, and that breaks down the fats and turns them into the lovely flavours that we know and love. So less fat, less flavour. Kevin says, Kim and Gavin, have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all the best for 2019. When will the first chat be in 2019? Well, what I'll do, Kevin, is I'll schedule it for, let me have a look at the calendar just quickly. So it will be on the 9th of January. So what I'll do in YouTube is, after this one's finished, I'll schedule the next one for the 9th. And everybody will see it in their channel list, or however you guys see it. Kim says she'll make sure that Gavin does some book writing during the break. Yes, I will. Josh says, g'day, my bad. Yes, g'day. That's the one. That's how you do it. Omen says, where I live, most of the farms sell raw milk. Well, that's fantastic. I wish I had all that too. Josh says, "G'day, that went perfectly." Good night, Gav. And Josh says, "I should have been on YouTube Rewind." Oh my goodness, wasn't that a disaster? Yeah, I suppose if I had been on YouTube Rewind, maybe it wouldn't have got as many thumbs downs. So, who knows? Aga says, "Thanks for the tips and information. Got plenty of experimenting to do to find the sweet spot with my ingredients." It's all about experimentation, really is, Aga, and you will find as you get more experience, you'll know what things do bad things, what things do good things, if that makes sense. So, and that's how I've become the cheesemaker I am now, the home cheesemaker, is just making cheese every week or so, and tasting my experiments and trying to follow the recipes as best I can, and yeah, and the ones that don't work, figure out why they don't work. So yeah, it's cool. Reggie, thank you so much for that super chat. Really appreciate it. If anybody else wants to do one, we got 5 minutes to go, and I really do appreciate Reggie's kind donation to the cheese clause. Kim's winding me up here, so it must mean I have to go. So Steve says, "Do I have time for a quick one?" Sounds a bit rude, Steve. Sorry about that. Why is Irish cheddar grainy in texture? Because it's got calcium lactate crystals in it, usually. Moonchuck says, "Looking at brie mold using an 8-inch pipe and a wood screen on the bottom. Any thoughts as plastic or wood is better?" Look, in the old days, they used to use wooden molds for everything, so it didn't really matter. But plastic, as long as it's not PVC and it is food safe, you should be fine. Kim says that you can visit our online shop at littlegreenworkshops.com.au and get all your cheese goodies there. Don't forget to support us either on Patreon for as little as, I think it's $1 a month on Patreon, and YouTube memberships, it's $4.99 US, and whatever the equivalent currency is in your country. And Patreon perks go all the way up to feta cheese kit, depending on what tier you decide to subscribe at. So you get early release videos, you get perks, recipes, cheese kits, depends on what you pay per month. So it's all very cool. And don't forget that, yes, as Jason and KY Homesteading suggests, give it a thumbs up. All that engagement's fantastic for the channel, makes us recognised. One day I may even get on the trending tab. How cool would that be? Everybody needs a little bit of cheese in their life. Kim says the merch store is at teespring.com/cheesemantv, and you can get all cool t-shirts like this one and all the cool mugs like this one and stuff. There's lots of stuff there. Patricia says, "Have a Merry Christmas. We'll look for you in 2019 with great anticipation." Thank you very much, Patricia. What are some good cheeses for me? Someone who has made ricotta 3 times and has gone any further. Look out for the video that says beginner's cheeses without a cheese cave. Go and check that out on the channel. And lots of Merry Christmas. And don't forget to pick you can local pickup if you're local. Indeed, you can, or we can express post it anywhere in Australia. And fingers crossed it'll get there in time. Okay, everybody else, have a fantastic Christmas. And as Kim says, thank you very much for supporting me during the year. And without your questions on the show, there wouldn't be a show. There wouldn't be a show. So Merry Christmas to you all if you celebrate Christmas, or happy holidays, or whatever fantastic celebrations you have at this time of the year. And we will see you in 2019 on the 9th of January. See you later, everybody. Bye, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. G'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds.